Guys, check this out. Wow, it is so incredibly hot in here. I live in one of those old buildings in New York City that has just incredible radiators where when they're on, it is just sweltering indoors. Like, I am out here in a t-shirt, I'm wearing shorts, I'm still sweating. I'm literally sweating, wiping the sweat off my nose. Let's get into the video. My name is Thomas. Welcome to my channel. In 2025, I am on sabbatical. If you've watched a couple of my other videos, all 5 of them that I've put out so far, you will have heard that I talk about or use the term sabbatical a lot. You may have also heard other terms like mini retirement, micro retirement, and if also you're a hater, you just might be wondering like, well, isn't like sabbatical just like another way of saying you're unemployed? Yes, I guess, sort of. So let's start there. What does it mean to be unemployed? Let me just say I hate that phrase because it attaches a negative modifier, un, to the adjective employed, which implies that the default state for people should be employment. And I guess the reality is that kind of is the default state for people. Like, most people are just in survival mode and they just can't afford to stop working. But it just doesn't sound great. And the idea that all of us by default should be working or have to be working, that just kind of sucks. But unemployed. So that means you don't have a job, not working, and you need or want a job. You need or want a job. You want to be working. So your goal when you're unemployed is pretty simple. You just need to find a job as soon as possible. So then next up is a mini retirement. What is a mini retirement? You've probably heard that term being thrown around. There's other YouTubers who talk about it. For me personally, I remember talking to a colleague and I told them I was going on a sabbatical in 2025, and they responded, oh yeah, myself and my wife, we were also considering like a mini retirement. And I just want to be clear, like a mini retirement and a sabbatical are really similar, but they're not the same thing. So in a mini retirement, you do not have a job, you're not working, and you also have no need or desire to work either. In those respects, it's identical to a sabbatical. When you're on sabbatical, you're not working and you also don't need or have a desire to work. So then what is the difference between a mini retirement and a sabbatical? I think when you're on mini retirement, your goal is simply to relax and enjoy life. So Dr. Chris G, another YouTuber, he took a year off from working, and him and his fiance traveled through South America, and they simply just relaxed and enjoyed life. And that makes sense because a mini retirement is like you're retired. Retired people just relax and enjoy life. They're not working and they have no desire to work. They've already worked up until that point to get to retirement. The only difference between a mini retirement and a retirement is that a mini retirement has an end. Otherwise, if your mini retirement could go on indefinitely and you never had to work again, then it would just be an actual retirement. So finally, we get to a sabbatical. If a sabbatical is identical to a mini retirement in the sense that you don't have a job and you're not working and you don't want to be working or desire to be working, then what is the difference between a sabbatical and a mini retirement? I think the goal of someone on a sabbatical is they're seeking something new to impart some level of change within themselves. For me, that is trying new things this year, like making YouTube videos, trying to write a book. And I think even on a deeper level, you might be seeking something like purpose or meaning. So I think in that regard, a sabbatical is highly intentional. You have to put some thought to it. You have to decide what are some things you want to do or try during your sabbatical period. Whereas contrasting that with a mini retirement, your goal on a mini retirement is simply to just relax and enjoy life, like you're just going on vacation. So if you're thinking about going on sabbatical, what are the 3 defining factors of a sabbatical? First, I would say a sabbatical should have a defined endpoint. So the word sabbatical actually derives from the word Sabbath, which is a day of rest. So a sabbatical is a period of rest where you're taking a break from your normal life of working a full-time job. So it's important to have a period or an endpoint set so that at the end of that you would probably be returning to your life before, whether that's working full-time or you were consulting or whatever it may be. The second defining factor of a sabbatical is that you have to lay out specific goals or objectives, things you want to try, things you always wanted to do. For me, that is trying to write a book this year, trying to do some marketing consulting, a bit of travel later on in the year. And this is a really important criteria of a sabbatical, because in combination with the first criteria, which is that there has to be a defined endpoint, it gives you some pressure and a deadline to work on things. So for me, I know that working backwards from a year, I should have some milestones in place as far as in terms of writing a book. I need to have certain things done at certain points. And that's why it's important to define your sabbatical as a specific period, and then also to define and lay out specific goals. Those two things work together. And it's really hard, I think, for either of those things to be in place and just work by themselves. So if you set an endpoint to your sabbatical, but you don't have any real goals, then you're just sort of on a mini retirement, right? You're just relaxing and going with the flow, which is fine, but that's not a sabbatical. On the flip side, if you set out goals, but you don't have an endpoint, then it just sort of can drag on pretty much indefinitely. Like if I say, oh, I just want to write a book, but I don't set out a specific period of time for my sabbatical for me to work specifically on that, then it could drag on for 2 years, 3 years, I don't know, 5 years. It could drag on for a really long time. And the last and defining thing about a sabbatical that ironically I think is the most challenging is that, and no one tells you this, I just recently figured this out this past week, is you have to subdue or suffocate the desire to work. And I know that sounds pathological. Like there are probably people watching this video thinking like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't want to work. Like, who wants to work? And I think I realized this week that I am someone who enjoys working. So this week I had multiple recruiters reach out to me about positions. Some of them were intriguing, some of them were not. Just a little bit about me. On sabbatical, I don't look at job boards. I don't look at job postings. I don't have job alerts set up. I don't spend time on LinkedIn. I'll be honest, there is temptation. Like if I see a role at a cool company where I think that fits my skill set really well, or it's like a role that I can see myself like as like the next step in my career, I am tempted to apply to those roles and like learn more about them. And even when recruiters reach out to me, that doesn't mean I'm guaranteed to get these jobs. But I think it's really different when someone does reach out to you, because then it feels like someone is approaching you with an opportunity. Like they think you're a really good fit for this company or this role. Did I apply to any of them? I'm not going to talk about that in this video. What I realize is like this is probably the hardest part. The hardest part is always the mental part. And I've talked to my friends, specifically my friend Monish, about this. Like the hardest part of walking away from corporate life, that traditional path, it's not necessarily the money, the benefits, the perks. Like yes, all those things are nice, but I always realized or recognized that the hardest part was going to be the mental part. The mental part of like walking away, of like subduing or voluntarily deciding like that you're not going to work. Like that's, I just didn't realize how hard that would be. And in fairness, I'm trying to like basically snap my fingers and go from like December I wasn't working, and then like January, like, oh, all of a sudden, yeah, you're on sabbatical now. Like now you're supposed to completely shift your mindset. To me, feels like the hardest part is the last criteria of a sabbatical is you really have to subdue, or I guess suffocate, that innate desire to work. Especially if you're someone like me who likes to work, who likes to feel challenged, likes to feel like you're part of a team, part of an organization that's like working and building towards like bigger things. I just never realized how much, that was something that I really enjoyed, and how much of my, identity or who I was based or rested on that. So yeah, that's all I've got this week. If you've watched this far, if you've gotten this far in the video, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video. And as always, take care of yourself, and if you can, someone else too.